Hello and welcome to TechFunnel.com's interview series for Women's History Month. My name is Danny White, and today we have joining us Alexis Wilson. Alexis is a social entrepreneur, brand builder, and high-performance coach. With a background in communications and entrepreneurship from the University of Michigan, she has used her skills to successfully launch her brand management firm, Exalt Management. Alexis is also the founder of The Menternship, a first-of-its-kind personal and professional development program that specializes in high performance. Through The Menternship, Alexis has formed partnerships with some of the largest brands in the world, including Nike, VaynerMedia, and Ralph Lauren. In addition to her passion for purpose-driven business, Alexis also is a champion for wellness and displays this through Temple, her wellness brand that embraces health and wealth beyond the bottle. Alexis also shares her knowledge and experience across the nation as a sought-after keynote speaker. Welcome, Alexis. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about your background and how you navigate life as a successful female founder.
Yes, so I went to the University of Michigan and majored in communications, minored in entrepreneurship. The entrepreneurship department at U of M really gave me a sense of home. I met one of my amazing mentors, Jenny Only, there, and she really served as a huge resource in getting me going and in introducing me to the ecosystem of entrepreneurship. So I owe a lot of my background to Jenny, and then also just to my family, seeing them have their own businesses. My parents own a nonprofit as well. Really cultivated my mindset to become an entrepreneurship. To become an entrepreneur. And I've always had a passion for women. So wanting to start something, create something that could also cultivate other women has played a huge role in developing the Menternship.
Awesome. So you came up with the idea for the Menternship. What was your thought process behind that?
Yeah, I was in class. So while I majored in communications, went to an amazing institution, I'm not really an academic, and I was in class and I wasn't paying the greatest amount of attention, and I started getting this idea that I wanted to have an internship program, and I always tell people that it was somewhat of like an internal conversation that I was having, like in the cartoon when it's a devil on the left shoulder and an angel on the right. And the evil side is like, well, who are you to have an internship? And then the angel's like, well, who are you not to? So I'm having this conversation in class. In my head, and I started writing everything out that I wanted this internship to be. And half of it was related to business and brand management, things like market segmentation, basic branding, customer segmentation, things like that. And the other half was mentoring, though. The other half was thought control, teaching them things like you are what you think you are, teaching them self-mastery. So once I realized I wanted them to be able to intern, but I also wanted them to be mentored, my brain just kind of combined both of the words and created the word menternship. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel like I had like a genius moment. And so from there, the Menternship was formed, and I just started trying to figure things out. Eventually got a trademark. Trademark just came through some months back. So that's how I got started.
That's incredible. And that's a really interesting concept, how you came up with that name. So what do you think the impact of having more female founders will have over the next 5 to 10 years on society in general?
I think the visibility is going to help help women to see that they can do it too. You know, I want women to be able to say, oh, because she did it and she did it and she did it, I can do it as well. I think that that's super, super important. You know, we're starting to see more and more women do it and starting to see that it's possible. And I think that is going to be one of the greatest impacts for sure.
Absolutely. So how do you empower female college graduates to be like these strong business women, these creative people, to entertain those internal dialogues when they come about? Because sometimes the best ideas do come when we're actually not paying attention to what we're supposed to be paying attention to. So how do you just empower women to actually tap into that and not reject it as something that, you shouldn't do that, or you should just focus on what's in front of you, but to actually explore what their thoughts are?
Yeah. So with the mentorship, that's half of the curriculum is doing and having this internal dialogue and making sure that you have a deep understanding of self and that you're tapped into your intuition. So the thing is, women are said to have a higher intuition than men, and we all have intuition. But the thing with intuition is that when you look up the definition of tuition, it's understanding and a knowledge or education of something. So when you think about intuition, your intuition is that knowledge of self, that knowledge that is coming from within that will help you in your external realm. So it's very, very important that my girls learn that. And so the way that I introduce them to that and get them to practice thought control and self-mastery is through the high performance training. So from the books that they read to them literally practicing gratitude and affirmations, we literally meditate before every session. Before we start any work, we meditate so that they can be balanced. And I drill into them that business is only going to be a reflection of them. So whatever is going on the inside of them is going to come out on the external realm. And that's why I make sure that their mind is right before we start putting pen to paper and getting work done. So it's all throughout the curriculum of the mentorship. It's drilled into them. And I make sure that they feel empowered by their intuition, empowered by their understanding of self. I praise that part, and they know that it's important.
Very cool. So what are some things that you do to foster collaboration and teamwork just among the women on your team?
So I always start by telling them I do not like to be micromanaged, and I don't like to micromanage people. I believe that it strips, confidence away when you're constantly tapping on someone's head. My leadership style is more so of, let me empower you to go do what I know that you can do. And if I don't see that you believe it, let me make sure I build you up so that I can see you execute. And really giving them responsibilities, allowing them to work on projects, allowing them to lead things, allowing them to make mistakes, and not necessarily holding their hand through everything, but being there when they need me to be there. And then also being honest and real and open with them being able to do better. When I know that they're slacking or I see that they're not giving their 100% off, I'll check them on that and they appreciate it. But I expect them to perform well. I expect them to practice teamwork, and I make sure that the environment is one that is cultivated to empower one another. They know that I frown upon any cattiness. I frown upon lack of teamwork. I frown upon laziness. So when I praise, okay, good, you're working together as a team. Good, you're empowering one another. Good, your character is good and your spirit is in a good place. Then they'll continue to perform and meet that.
Absolutely. So obviously, creating your own business is a challenging task. How did you overcome some of the challenges that you faced when you were from that internal dialogue to actually bringing it to fruition, getting your trademark, your name, and actually creating this entire program that is impacting the lives of young women?
It's so many different answers. I think the overarching answer for overcoming it would just be doing it and figuring it out and making mistakes and hitting my head and reaching out to people that knew things that I didn't know. So if I didn't have the specialized knowledge for something, it was like, well, if you don't know this, you got to find someone who does know this.
Yeah.
So definitely tapping into my mentors. They play a huge role in the mentorship, from literally from the trademarks to the curriculum development to helping me pick the girls to me figuring out like, how do I actually do I put the application online? Like, how do I do this? I asked so many questions. I asked so many questions. And then when I went with my gut, I followed that intuition and I just figured it out, and I made mistakes and then I kept going. And I think that is also a key thing. Like when you hit your head, are you going to stay down? Are you going to lay down for, a month? Or are you going to get back up and keep it pushing?
Yeah, absolutely. So speaking of mentorship and your own mentors, who is your mentor and what is the best advice that you've ever received from them? It's probably a lot of good advice, but what's like the one or two pieces of advice you could give? Yeah,
so I'm fortunate and privileged to have a few mentors. The one that I'm thinking of, her name is Sophia. She is the head of digital strategy and emerging tech at Unilever over Sundial branch. She's very, very brilliant, and she's told me many, many things. But I think with Sophia, what stands out the most to me is not necessarily just what she says, but the fact that her actions align with it have spoke more volumes than anything to me. So if she'll tell me, Alexis, you got to make sure you keep your head down and make sure you keep working and make sure that you're seeking out knowledge so that you stay ahead of the curve. I know that it is true because I've seen her fruit grow from that practice as well. I've seen her do it in her life. And it just, all the advice she's given me has oozed from her. And I think that me seeing that from her has taught me to be a woman of my word and to walk my words out as well. And I think that that's probably one of the greatest lessons that I have learned from her. And I think that it's a lesson I needed to learn as someone who is mentoring other young women and teaching other young women. You know, being a teacher that can't be taught or being a leader that doesn't know how to be led is a big no-no in my book. And just making sure that my words actually align with my actions is probably, it is the biggest thing that I've learned from Sophia.
Amazing. So talking the talk and walking the walk is definitely a big thing. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So obviously that is one piece of good advice you would give to our audience. But what advice would you give to young women or young career women who are trying to find a mentor in their lives? How do they go about getting those good people around them to advise them, to guide them, to ask questions, to get their questions answered, to tell them things that they don't know and that college does not teach?
Yeah. So the first step I would say is figure out what type of mentor you want and figure out, you want to make sure you pick a mentor that is where you want to be. So you want to make sure, like if you want to be a fashion designer, of course you're going to say, oh, let me find someone in a fashion space. But I would suggest sitting down and visioning for yourself 10 years down the line. How does you in 10 years look, feel, act, think? Now go find someone that aligns with that. So once you can really think big picture on where you want to go, find a person that aligns with that, but then also make sure that your approach is correct. So you want to make sure that you present yourself as someone who doesn't just want to take, but who can also serve in turn. It shouldn't be a one-sided relationship. And you also need to have it as together as possible. And when I say as together as possible, I mean, don't just say, hey, can you mentor me to a super busy person? Because all that's going to do is stress them out in their head and be like, okay, what does that mean? How often do we meet? Like, what do you expect of me? Let your expectations be clear. Decide what that looks like. You coming to me and telling me, hey, can you mentor me? Versus, hey, you know, I would really like to be mentored by you. Do you think that we could maybe have a half-hour phone call once a month?
Right.
That allows me to, you know, process and say, okay, I think I can fit that in my schedule. Cool, let's do that. And then just make it known that you are also in it to serve, you know. If you got to tell someone, hey, if that means I got to go grocery shopping with you or I got to help you clean your house, doesn't matter. If I can be around you for the time being and can just rub off on you, I'll take that. Depends on how bad you want to be around that person and how busy that person is. But you got to show them that you respect their time. You know, of course, depending on how busy that person is, you got to really kind of work with their schedule. That's
awesome advice. Very incredible advice. Thank you so much, Alexis, for everything that you're doing for young women, for your advice that you have shared with our audience. We really appreciate your time today. Guys, thank you for listening to this interview. For these and other interviews and topics, please visit techfunnel.com. You can connect with us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram, and subscribe to our weekly newsletter to stay up to date on everything that's happening in the industry. Thank you.